Okay. Hello, everyone. Hearing me okay? Okay, cool. Really happy to be here today. I'm Nicolas Averseng. I'm the founder and CEO of Yooi. Great to see such a crowd. Thanks for everyone to be here and sitting everywhere in the corners. As you heard, I'm French, so hopefully pardon my French, I would say. So I'd start with a quote that I like from Gartner. It's kind of provocative, but everyone in the industry is talking about data quality, how data quality matters, how much it's important to deliver AI and insights and value. But that's really interesting because it says basically that data leaders and organizations who prioritize data quality actually have less chance to deliver value than others. So that's pretty shocking or let's say, makes thinking. So what it means actually is that if you just focus on data quality, then you don't know why you do it, and you don't know where to focus, and you don't know where to start, and it's not necessarily aligned with how you're going to generate value afterwards. So what needs to be done is really to reverse the thinking and start with what you want to achieve, and then link back to, obviously, we need to care about data quality at some point. It's not about not doing it, it's about how you do it. So the main question is really about how do you better define and then deploy and then scale your transformation strategy so that you can deliver value creation, but more than that, a responsible value creation, because it's not about only value, it's about the how as much as the what. So that's really important. So to start with that, just maybe going to the basics, what is a good data and AI strategy? How can we qualify that? So I think that's important for me to come back to it. The first thing is that it can't be just about data. I've met plenty of organizations that have just a data strategy, and they kind of forget about how it's going to be used. What are the use cases? What are the analytics I want to build on top? What is the AI I want to build on top? So it has to be a one strategy where you have data and analytics and AI combined together so that you have a clear view on where are you going and how you're going to prioritize things. The second one, it has to be aligned with your business and ethical objectives at the same time. It seems obvious, but unfortunately it's not always the case. The third one, which is really important, and that's always a big topic of discussion, is that there's two pieces in there. It has to be able to deliver value iteratively. There is so many cases, if you have a plan and you're going to deliver value in 18 months from now, or in 2 years from now, it's not going to make it for the organization. It's tough. And it's a big cause for failure. But the second thing is that sometimes when I say that, people say, oh, but don't forget about it's not about quick wins. We need to think about transformation and long term. So the strategy has to have those two dimensions together, meaning how to deliver value iteratively and continuously, but also combining short-term goals and long-term goals, because it's not about just quick wins and thinking about short-term objectives. Then it has to be operationalized. And again, that's something that's a pitfall that we've seen so often, is that if you don't think about how people are going to adopt what you deliver, if you don't think about how it's going to be actually used in business processes, then it's not going to work. So you're going to deploy awesome products that no one's going to use, and obviously it's not a recipe for success. Almost at the end, it has to be product-based. And again, that's a shift in mindset that happens over the last few years. I think almost everyone now is working for that product-based approach. The thing is that it's not about building things once. It's about building products that will be deployed, have a life cycle, and they need to be nurtured. So it means evolved, monitored, and maybe discarded at some point. So there is that notion of we're building things that are going to be alive. It's not like we've done it, it's in the wild, and we don't take care about it anymore. So that's an important one. And the very last one is that the strategy itself has to evolve and adapt to what's going on, to what you're building, to the company you're acquiring, to what's going on the market, to etc. To give you a quick story, a few years back, I was working with a company that just spent 18 months building their data strategy. So it was really good. They worked with everyone in the business. It was all defined. And the main problem it was when they've done, it was in February 2020. So 1 week after, lockdown, and all of that went to trash. All of it. I mean, 18 months of work, it was all void, so they had to start again after from scratch. So that's, and because they never thought about it that it would change, and it was like a 3 years plan and so on. So it has to be, you need to think about how you make it evolve gradually. So that being said, how? And you probably know I've read a lot of books, I work with many people, there is so many frameworks to choose from. I've put some books here that I like, that are interesting, with one from Bill on thinking like economics of dynamics and digital transformation, Edge, Gartner frameworks. If you're familiar with Gartner, they have like tons of frameworks to use, etc., etc. And if you work with consulting companies, they have all their own canvases and toolkits and so on. And they're all a bit different, a bit similar. So I'd like to help you frame that and give some commonalities or differences on how to choose them. So if I take a common frame, to be very simple, you need a strategy piece and you need an operationalization piece. So it's about how you're going to deliver the program. And those need to be well connected, and thinking about how you use a feedback loop from operations to improve the strategy and so on and so on. So it's kind of the basics. And it's what we call a strat ops approach. You probably know DevOps, DataOps, MLOps. You need to apply the same principles on the strategy and operating model. It's about really making sure you can link them both, and you can make that something that is executable, incremental, value-driven, measurable, and dynamic with those feedback loops. So what do we put behind that? Two things. On the strategy layer, and I'm going to detail that just after, you have to assess outcomes, what you want to achieve and how it's going to deliver value to the organization, what are the risks and guidelines, or how you're going to, what you need to care about to deliver, the portfolio management piece, how you look at your different products as a portfolio, and very concretely, how am I going to measure that, what the practices to put in place to measure value. And on the operations part, you have the impact, meaning how do I link what I want to achieve and my use cases with my assets and my activities and what's going on in different teams, how to link that with agile delivery and XOps, DataOps, MLOps, etc. What role and team topologies I need to put in place, and what are the product management activities I need to have in place to manage my products operationally. And let's not forget the last one, which is change management, because at the end, you need also to work with the organization on how to make all of that adopted, how to change the practices, how to train people, etc., etc. So I don't have 2 hours, so I won't zoom into all of that, but happy to discuss afterwards with anyone who has questions on some of the things I won't cover. So let's start with outcomes. So the goal of outcomes is to frame the high level of the strategy. How are you going to link that with value generation for the organization and the high-level strategy business objectives? If you read into all the books I've shown and so on, basically you have 2 main approaches. One is a value tree and one is a decision tree. They're kind of similar, but so I give you some examples. I did a summary of those different books. If you take the Edge book, you start from like what are the organization goals, and then how I split that in terms of more operational goals, what bets I want to do, and then what initiative it drives. If you go to the Gartner enterprise value equation model, it's slightly different. It's more looking about who is making decisions in the organization, what are their business priorities, and what are the outcomes they want to achieve with that. And then you look at value enablers, which are what initiatives you want to make to help achieving those outcomes. Then there is one AQPC, which is I forget the acronym. It's a performance council, and it's very different because you look at processes. What is the input of my process? What is the process doing? What is the output of the process? And then how is it impacting the organization? And then from that, you can identify use case to improve the process that you're going to serve. Or at the end, we move to the decision tree approach, which is looking at initiative, business initiatives. So what you want to achieve from a business standpoint, who is working there, what decisions they're making in their business, and then how can data analytics or AI help them make those decisions. So that's why it's a decision tree. So it's not about necessarily choosing about one versus the other, but it's about thinking what makes the most sense for you in your organization and how you're thinking about that. So, but you need to make a choice basically about one of them, or maybe combine them sometimes. One thing that they add, and two of them add, which is really interesting, I mentioned that before, is that it's thinking about short-term versus long-term. So they add to that framework that notion of the McKinsey 3 horizon, is it something for now, for the next transformation, or really transformative, or what Gartner is calling the transformation focus, which is, as an organization, are we ready to invest on quick wins, transformative stuff, and because it has different impact on the change management program, or on how risky it is basically to deliver that in a way. So that's the first thing. Make sure you have a good way to frame the outcomes and to link your initiatives and use cases to organization outcome. So that's the starting point of your strategy. The second one I said is that, okay, what is the value we expect, what is the outcome we expect, but also what is the risk we have and what do we need to care about. So it's not necessarily exhaustive, but there's different categories of risk. You probably know all of them, like from privacy, cybersecurity, environmental, social, etc., etc. So you want to make sure that what you do, and depending on the industry, it's very different. If you're very B2C focused, then obviously the ethical and matters a lot because you need to care with your clients. But sometimes, if it's about doing AI that will impact your people, you need to be careful about that also, etc. So you probably know all those regulations already in the organization, but still, then you need to convert that into assessment frameworks and guidelines. So I mean, concretely, what does it mean to take that into account in my program? So if I simplify, or maybe a high level, you have how does it impact my data? What do I need to care about for my data? So in terms of, and how does that drive rules in terms of data quality or expectation in terms of data quality in one of those dimensions? Same, what does it drive in terms of expectation for my AI models? In terms of explainability, in terms of fairness, in terms of interpretability, and so on. So that gives, at the end, if you have those guidelines, it will be concrete ways for your delivery teams and development teams to know how far they can go and what they need to take into account. And obviously, when you're going to walk into the feasibility, it's going to have an impact on the cost and so on. And same for the architecture and security dimension and so on. So really making sure that you have not complex, but well-defined guidelines to how you're going to move from assessing risk to what it means to deliver, because it's going to have a huge impact on the cost and the timeline and so on. And as I said, you probably have pieces of the framework already, either in your organization, or there's plenty of open source framework for some of them. A lot of organizations are working, for example, on responsible AI from now. So start from there, but make it operational for your organization. That's always the trick. Otherwise, it's just theory. Then we have portfolio management. And portfolio management is really about connecting what we've seen before. We have first a consolidated portfolio. So basically you take your strategic business priorities, your outcomes that you have identified, then you link them to your use cases, we've seen that, and then you can make the connection with the products and assets you have or you need to build. So that's really about building the portfolio of, okay, what I'm going to build and how is that going to serve the strategy. On that consolidated portfolio, you can apply that value-driven governance. I'm not talking about just data governance, but really governing the portfolio itself. So always caring about value and risk and cost at the same time and on those three different dimensions. So really making sure that then we can manage all our different investments with those three dimensions in mind. And the third dimension of the portfolio is looking about the whole life cycle. Because again, we're building products. So it's about deciding which product you build, making sure you build them the right way and with the right efficiency. And at the end, also tracking their performance and monitoring them over time, but also making decisions about, can I reuse them to maximize value? Should I stop them? And so on. So it's really about, again, caring about the whole life cycle. So portfolio management. And the last part is value measurement. So value measurement, it's at the end, it's always a question we have. So we define the outcomes, we define our products with our portfolio, but how do we measure value at the end? And it's a complex topic. So the first question is, what do we measure? Because just measuring outcomes is really difficult, and sometimes tying outcomes measurement to what your specific use case or product did is really difficult. For example, if you have something that will impact churn or sales improvements, whatever, you have so many factors impacting that you have also always a discussion about how do you assess the actual contribution and so on. And sometimes it's not purely scientific. It's about discussing with the business to agree on what would be the right measurement and so on. But I try to map. That is basically, if you think about measurement, it's not one layer. You need to think about it in different layers. What does it mean for the organization? How do I measure outcomes? What does it mean for my business processes, for my team? And then at the end, what it means for the delivery team, what they're doing on the day-to-day, and even for my products. So if you map that, you will see that when you look at the organization level, you can think about financial performance, because at the end, the CEO, the CFO, what they care about is how is that impacting my financials, the top line, bottom line, profitability, growth, etc. So for that, we have different valuation methods. It can be direct or indirect. We can go into details. So basically, direct is really to use like business plans to compute what are the different contributions to the business, and there is interesting literature on that with what Gartner called infonomics, and there is a data array playbook and so on. So there is different ways to do that. And indirect is more looking at matrices, where you can make the link between contribution and how much percentage, basically, or weight of how the different initiatives impact different outcomes. But then you can look at another level at something that is really important, which is OKRs, or business KPIs. So it's another layer, which is how are we impacting OKRs, and then it's interesting because in your organization, teams actually on the day-to-day, they don't necessarily know or understand the financial impact directly. They know about operational ones and OKRs. Then you can move into teams metrics, which is understanding how is the performance of the different teams impacting your ability to deliver on the timeline. Do I have bottlenecks? Do I have handoffs risk and so on? So it's about then optimizing how you deliver. If you move one team lower, it's about the performance of each team. This is what you do with XOps. DataOps is about how efficient is your data engineering team. MLOps about the machine learning team. What is the quality of what they deliver? How is it evolving over time? And at the end, you can go to observability metrics, which is really what do I have? What is the quality of my asset? What is the quality of my model? And again, you can apply that to data, AI, infrastructure, everything. So what is important there, and that's what at the bottom is that in that framework, you can really combine leading and lagging indicators. So leading indicators are usually the operational one, and the more at the bottom of that, let's say, pyramid. And the more you go up, the more it's lagging indicators, because sometimes there is a long delay between what you do and how you can measure that on the outcome and on the effective impact on the organization. And the other question is when, because and that links to what I've been talking about just before. The when is really about looking at it across the life cycle. So it means when you start something, you need to establish a baseline first. So again, making sure that you have the right starting point, and you start the measurement then. And then you need to have that across the whole life cycle. So making sure that you can, for example, decide what are the criteria to move outside of a pilot or a POC with my use case before moving forward. And then when I'm rolling out, what is the impact on the different pieces of the business, and maybe you're going to scale that across different business units, across different countries, across different sites. It depends on the structure of your different businesses. But then also think about it during the whole lifetime, because once a product is out there, it's costing you money, it's costing you resources to use it. So you need to measure over time, and that's a long-run exercise. So it's really a discipline that needs to be put in place. So again, looking at different levels, connecting those different levels together, because that helps aligning the work of what's happening in the different parts of your organization. And that's really important to not have a one layer view of value, but really trying to make that concrete and effective for everyone that is implied in the delivery and in the outcomes. So it's how you're going to connect, basically, the nice job that your data engineers are doing with what your business people are expecting in a way. So back to that view, I've been a bit into some details about that first layer, how you define the strategy. But what you see is that all of that is not done only to define the high-level strategy. It's also all of that is connected with your operating model. Because once you have done, for example, the portfolio management, you can do the impact assessment, which is really having a clear view on what needs to be done. And for example, if we go back to data quality, what does it mean to achieve data quality for those particular use cases or for those particular use cases or expected outcomes? And then you know where to start. You know if you measure when you measure success, and you know how much it will cost in a way to address that. Again, you can make the link with how the team organize and deliver incrementally, because then you know how to measure and how to impact the decisions on the different streams and so on. I won't have time today to discuss about roles and team typologies, but it's really important to think about that, because it's about, okay, what are the roles of the different people, how they are impacted or impacting the processes, and again, the measurement part is really important also to connect that and to align those different works. So I'm just going to finish by talking quickly about what we do at Yooi and how it's connected to that. So basically, you're probably not familiar with Yooi, but what we have is a portfolio management platform, and basically we help animating that strategy process. So capturing, managing the higher level, which is something that usually you don't have the right tools to do. Or maybe you do it with Excel or with PowerPoint, and then it's really difficult to make it a continuous exercise and also a collaborative exercise with the business and with the different parts of the organization. But also making the connection with what's happening on the field. So you have all those smart people working with technical tools, but then it's hardly connected with the non-technical people in the organization. So basically, we have a kind of cockpit where we can help making that connection and building a business-facing view that also connects with what's happening on the field. So we call that value-driven data analytics portfolio, because it's really about animating the transformation from that value-driven standpoint, but also a responsible standpoint. So at the end, if you saw around the map I showed before, there is a lot of different people involved. So it's not just about the framework, it's about the people around the framework and making sure that you have them collaborate around that. So and I really insist on that. You need frameworks that are effective. You need frameworks that are used. You need frameworks that people, it's not just about, if you have for example, I mentioned at the beginning, the Gartner framework called ROAR, Risk, Opportunity, Appetite, Returns. At the beginning, they have 120 questions to assess any use cases. So if you roll that out in an organization that's not ready for it, no one is going to do that. It's going to be like it's too much in the way of doing it. So you need to tailor that, and again, make sure that you have a good way to have a collaboration around that process. And again, connect strategy and operating model. So I'm going to finish a bit early, but that's another quote which is interesting. It's about really how ensuring that collaboration across the different value streams is really going to make a difference in your ability to deliver value. And again, there is always those 3 dimensions of people, process, and technology. And having the right processes is key. Having the right technology is key. But today, I believe it's accessible. But then the people are what we need to make sure, and that's how we're going to address. So with time for questions, if there is anyone who wants me to dig into some any aspects. Otherwise, thank you all for your attention, and you can meet us further on the booth or connect on LinkedIn anytime. Any question? No? Thank you.